Hello and welcome to another episode of Upgrade with Maria Kay, the podcast where your success, freedom and happiness get a weekly boost. Yay, big fist in the air. Congratulations to you for showing up. I know that life is busy and it's always an honor, and it really excites me that you have taken this time out of your busy schedule to really put life on pause for 30 or so minutes and take stock. Have a look at what is working in your life, what isn't working, which areas perhaps need special attention, and which areas are crying out for an upgrade. If you haven't already done so, hop along over to the Facebook group, Upgrade with Maria Kay. Join us, share what you need from me, share any insights, any progressions that you've had, any questions that are coming up for you about any of the topics that we've already covered, or perhaps you've got some suggestions for future podcast topics. So it's currently towards the end of September. It's around 9 weeks until Christmas. Christmas for me, the mere mention of it used to get me all in a tears. It would put me in a right downward spiraling mood. I didn't like it. It would conjure up a whole ton of insecurities, worries, and regrets. Nothing to do with the festivity itself. That's a whole other podcast. Nothing to do with the stress that comes along with preparing for such a huge event. It was more to do with all of the stuckness that was brought to light at around this time of year, shining a light on the fact that I am still where I was pretty much last year. I'm still swimming around in my excuses, in the confines of my stuckness, in the false stories that I'd created in the way of excuses for myself. And I was still locked up in this self-made prison. The prison that I actually held the key for. It was right around my neck, but I had no idea back then that I was the key bearer to a prison that I'd locked myself away in. So at the mere mention of the countdown to Christmas, I would go into panic mode, that downward spiral of, how is it that you are still here, Maria? How is it that you are still living your life that's been designed by somebody else or another group of people or by social expectations? How is it that you are still where you were this time last year and the year before? Now, you might be rooting around for a few details here. I'm not going to go into too many details of my life today. If you want to know the ins and outs and where I was last year and the year before and where I've come to, and basically the story from day dot, then please do, if you haven't already done so, jump back to previous podcast episodes. It's all in there. I am so cool and open about sharing what I've been through, what I haven't been through, and how I've changed my life radically. Today, I want to make it all about you, though. I want to make it all about how the mention of Christmas makes you feel. It's good, if it's bad. And I want to know, and I want you to really delve into, are you happy with where you are today? Are you happy with where you are going? If somebody was to take an energetic snapshot of your life, you and your emotions, your inner world, your outer world right now, and say, this snapshot that I'm taking means that we are frozen in time. You can't move forward, you can't move back, you can't shift left, you can't shift right. Would you be happy and content? Now we're 3/4 of the way through 2015. We are almost nearing the end of another year. Now you may say, well, we've got another 3 months, Maria. Plenty of time. I agree with you. If you are thinking along those lines, then we are like-minded. However, a lot of people get to this time of year and have this kind of dialogue with themselves. Oh, well, it's September again. There's no way I'll be able to turn my life around now before Christmas. I may as well just sit tight, keep doing what I'm doing, and I'll start again in January. Oh, those words are just so dark and restrictive and dingy and negative, right? Could you not feel that? There's no point in trying today. There's no point in trying tomorrow. Hey, you've got 3 whole months to turn your life around. One of my most recent, well, I've had many since, but the story that I want to bring in today, and I said I wasn't going to focus too much on me, but it's a really relevant piece of the puzzle that is my life. This time last year, I made a decision to relocate to India. Again, all the backstory is in previous podcast episodes on YouTube and on my blog. It's all there. Go hunting and you'll find it. So this time last year, made the decision, and literally within 6 weeks, I had my feet in the sand. I would walk along the beach to get to my daily yoga class. My front yard pool was the ocean. Now, this happened within 6 weeks from start to finish. Now, I wanted to bring that in as an example to you so that you can understand how powerful we are as beings. Now, you may be saying, well, that's okay for you, Maria. You do what you do. It's your job. Of course, you can turn your life around whenever you decide to with the click of your fingers. Let's pause for a second and let me remind you, I'm no different to you. I'm not your guru. In fact, one of the very first things I teach my new clients and students is to become their own guru. And as well as their UpGrade journey, they go on a journey towards becoming their own guru, because we are all one and the same, my friends. I'm no different to you. You're no different to me. Difference is I've just done a little bit of inner work to raise my belief system, to change the inner workings of my inner world, to support me and where I want to be going. So let me come back to that question. If we were to freeze time now, and your life was to remain exactly how it is, there's no tomorrow and there's no next week or next year, or I'll do it in January, I'll focus in the new year. None of that. If you had to show up to your life the way it is right now, every single day for the rest of your life, would you be happy? That is the big question. Would you? Now, for those of you who are answering yes, you may as well quit listening and go off and enjoy your life. Congratulations. But I'm wondering how many of us there are who would be happy with that happening right now. I know I wouldn't be. There's still stuff I want to achieve and create and shift and manifest and be more of service. There's still stuff I need to create and finish and get done. I'm not happy with time standing still. Thank you very, very much. So if you're with me and you know there's room for more, you know you're not living to 100% of your capacity, you know that you can still scramble a few more upgrades in your life, then stay exactly where you are. I'm going to show you how to move forward now. Not in January, but now. So step number 1, we're going to move through this quite quickly. You might want to pause the audio, go and grab a pen and some paper. because this is something that I'm serious about, and I want you to be serious about it too. Switch off all other distractions. You owe it to yourself to focus in for the next 20 or so minutes. Step number 1, what is it you want? Identify what you want. Now, this can be one of the first stumbling blocks. Now, I have a whole other podcast on how to decipher what you want. Go inside, spend some time. In fact, there's a few. Self-awareness, whose life are you living anyway? Have a look, have a listen, spend some time. Identify what it is you want. Now, a little bit about that. Most of us don't know what we want. Well, we think we don't know what we want because it's either too frivolous or too inconvenient. How could I possibly, for example, change careers or go back to college when I have a family to support? What will my partner think? My wife, my husband, my parents? How could I possibly change jobs or career or start my own business? How inconsiderate and irresponsible of me. Can you see what we do to ourselves? Can you see how things play out for us? And that we are the ones spinning the wheel. We are the ones pressing play on all of those excuses and fears and worries. So chances are, my friend, you know what you want. It's highly, highly, highly likely that you know what you want. But it's also highly likely that you haven't allowed yourself to really want what you want. Now, I've said this before, and I really don't care how many times I repeat it, whether you've heard it for a million times from me or if it's the first time you're hearing it. Your desires, your wants are simply previews to what is possible. They are calling you forth. They are giving you guidance as to where to travel to next in your life. A new career, a new relationship, a heightened level of relationships, improved health and wellness. Pay close attention to these messages and these desires. You know, if you feel confused and overwhelmed, chances are it's because you're pushing against what it is that's coming through because it's inconvenient or it's too far out or too frivolous or too luxurious. How could I possibly relocate and live on a beach for the whole of the winter? It's so frivolous. It's so inconvenient. How irresponsible as a mother to pull your kids out of school and pop them in a different school, right? Talking about me here. Those are all worries and concerns, potential blocks that were going on for me this time last year. What's the difference though? The difference is I did it anyway. So step number one, identify what you want. Step number 2, identify the possible blocks that could stop you from getting what you want or achieving or creating what you want. Right? Getting in the way, getting in between you and your desired vision, right? Your desires will first come in the way of a vision, right? Perhaps you'll see it in your mind's eye. Perhaps you'll be interested. Perhaps you'll be drawn to go into a certain agency, or you'll go onto a certain website or speak to a certain person, right? Very often, people I deal with have these desires, have very clear vision of what they want, and they know that they need to step through a certain pathway, they need to get help, or they need to get a coach, or they need to go and do a certain course, or get a certain diploma, or even change something radically in their business or their relationship. When it comes to taking the action, something blocks them. So you want to get really clear also on what could potentially block you, what could be in your way. Chances are your beliefs, the inner workings of your mind, your mind is one of the most powerful things that you've got, but most of us misuse it, or we allow our mind to misuse us. Really, really big tip here: become a master of your mind. Always know what's going on inside your mind. Now, this takes time, but if you're willing, it's so achievable. So what could potentially block you? You want to look at your internal possible blocks, the fears that you have, your beliefs. For example, if you want to create a business that's based on your innate abilities, your passions, perhaps you have a really powerful healing ability, and at the moment you're in the corporate world working a 9-to-5 plus job. If you believe that the only way to bring in a secure income is from a corporate 9-to-5, then as you step away from that and launch into creating your healing business, your beliefs will block you. For example, if you want to relocate from the city to the country, or vice versa, but you believe that you're a city girl or a country boy, right? Then that move, that relocation will be hindered. It will be steeped in obstacle after obstacle, challenge after challenge, right? Sometimes the only way to actually bring those limiting beliefs to light is to get into action. So I'm not saying that you sit at a desk and you identify every single block or every single potential problem or issue. But it's a really good idea to start with the ones that are right there in front of you and keep repeating this exercise on a very regular basis. So once you've identified as many of your internal blocks as possible, you then want to look to the external ones. Right? Let's just be really clear before we go on any further. All of these perceived blocks, problems, issues, things that can get in the way, they're not real. To put it in simple terms, they're not real, right? Once we begin believing that something is real, then it becomes real. Once we believe that we can't do something because it will ruin our children's education if we relocate them, then that is the reality of it. Once we shift the belief and we allow for the universe to step in and reveal the miracles around that situation, that's what we will experience. Pure, simple, golden miracles. So once you've gone through the inner workings of what's going on for you, then look at the external. So let's just quickly recap. Step number 1, identify what you want. Step number 2, identify potential blocks, internal blocks, fears, worries, limiting beliefs, and then external. Perhaps the people around you, perhaps your location, right? Perhaps finances. That's a biggie when it comes to life, changing our life, right? And once they're down on paper, once you've spoken them and you've stared them straight in the face, you can actually understand they're not as scary as you would have initially believed them to be. They're not as frightening. And then once you start pulling off the wrapper, having a look even closer, connecting one to the other and tying things back to perhaps the past or a certain scenario situation that you've been in before. Once you get up close and personal, you start to realize that actually this is a pack of lies. It's a series of stories and things that I've maintained, I've basically given life to. Imagine a balloon. As long as you're blowing the balloon up, it's a balloon. It's an inflated balloon. As soon as you take the air out of the balloon, it's deflated. It's not really a balloon, the way that we like to see balloons. So by giving attention and belief and validation to your potential worries, blocks, fears, obstacles, the what will people think and say, they will never go for it, I'll fail, everything that comes to your mind and soul right now. I know that it's all there. It's probably driving you crazy right now. But once we remove validation from it, the oxygen, once we remove the oxygen, they deflate, they fall flat on their face. Yeah, and that gives you the opportunity to scoop down, gather them up, throw them right in the garbage. So step 1, identify your wants, your desires. Step 2, identify potential blocks, internal and external. Step number 3, take action. Take action. Do what it takes. You might be thinking, well, what do I do? If I knew what I needed to do, if I knew how to leave my day job and create my healing business, for example, I would have done it so far. Take action. Take action, part A. Take the first step. Take the first step. What could the first step be? Let's take this example again. Same example, healing, creating a healing practice. First step, go heal somebody. Now, I know all you healers out there will be thinking, you don't heal somebody, you just, reveal the wellness inside of them. We're not going to get too technical today. Basically, find somebody who requires your service and provide them with it. Don't worry about money. Don't worry about, labeling yourself or getting insurance or all that, the crazy stuff. Just go and do what you know you can do. The first step. Now, this isn't a new concept. It's, widely spoken about in the personal and spiritual development world, but it's one that I love. And it's one that has seen me through my dark moments when I haven't known what to do next. How do I get from A to B? Right? I can't see for looking. There's always one little step that's illuminated. It's a given. It's always the way. Take that step. Do that action. Make that move. For example, when I decided we were going to relocate to India, what did I do? The first thing I did was get in contact with a school. Had a Skype meeting with a school in India. Right? First step. Didn't mean anything. May not have been the right school for the children at the time. It ended up actually being, we home educated for the time we were out there. But I got into action. What's another step I did? I researched visas, right? What were the requirements that we needed, right? Once you get into action, what you do is you start to move the energy. Now, if you imagine like sort of a gust of wind moving in the direction that you want to go in, it's a powerful visual, right? And that's what happens when you get into action. It could be clicking on a website. It could be making a phone call. It could be just adding yourself to a Facebook group, perhaps, onlinehealers.com or something, coming back to that same example for the sake of continuity. So take the first step, the one that you can see in front of you. So that's part A of taking action. And then continuing in part A, you keep repeating that. Lather, rinse, repeat. Keep taking the next step. Keep taking the next inspired step. Now, this is a really good place for me to mention flexing your intuition muscle, going inside and trusting yourself. There's a whole other podcast on that as well. Go back and find it. It's going to be one of your most powerful tools as you move forward. Self-awareness and also trusting your intuition. There's 2 separate podcasts. Go and find those. So keep taking that next inspired move. Okay. So quick recap. Step number 1, identify your desires, identify what you want. Step number 2, identify your potential blocks, both inner and outer. Step number 3, take actions. Part A, take the first illuminated step. Part B of take action, and this is the biggie, and this is what we're going to end on, is do whatever it takes. Now, this, we need to throw in a huge sprinkling of focus, belief, tenacity, right? All of those things. And a big splodge of, I can do this, right? I can do this. Now, in order to rally those things up, doing whatever it takes is going to need to feature in a huge, huge way. Now, as I said before, it may be taking that course, it may be hiring a coach, it may be becoming part of a mastermind group, going to a networking group, rekindling your abilities, like I said, go and work on someone, go and heal someone, get into action, but do whatever it takes. Now, this for me is the part where, for example, this time last year, without my personal coach, I am pretty sure it would have taken me a lot longer than 6 weeks to get from where I was in the UK to having my feet in the sand, walking to my yoga class, and having the beach as my kind of, my front yard. So I did what it took. Now, I always have a coach, but at that moment in my life, it became make or break, paramount. Okay. So do whatever it takes. And this will tie in with the blocks, perceived potential blocks, because there'll be 1,000,001 reasons why you can't invest in a coach, or you can't go on that training course, or you can't take that social media course, or you can't take time out of, parenting your children, or, your health and wellness regime, whatever it is. The beauty of it is we're all unique and individual. So we've all got our own kind of web of interconnected possible blocks and, combinations of yeses and nos and ahs and e's and all of the things that make us who we are. Having someone there to help you unpick, in ancient times, it was actually a really revered thing to have like a mentor or a coach or a teacher or a spiritual guider, someone who would guide you. Because we cannot see for looking, an old quote is, the eye can't see the eye. And it's really powerful. So get everything in place that you need to move forward. And things will come and become apparent and reveal themselves. Don't worry, you haven't got to figure it all out now. As a quick side note, if you want to have a further conversation with me about the possibility of you and I working together, right, then let me know. Go to the Facebook group UpGrade with Maria Kay and send me a private message, and we will schedule a free conversation by all means. Okay, the very last step. The very last step is start now. Now, right now. Not tomorrow, not on Monday, not in January. Excuse me, start now. Because tomorrow never comes. January never comes. September never comes. There's always going to be something more important, more pressing, more dramatic. I have a client who is constantly, week on week, experiencing and dealing with some kind of drama. And I had to sit her down a couple of weeks ago and really be honest and to the point with her. And she got it. She got it quite quickly. She said, I know, I'm scared. You know, fear can have us creating a whole load of drama in our life. Things that, need our attention urgently, sick children, leaks in our, in the ceilings, financial issues, our own health issues. I did it myself. I've done it on numerous occasions where I've literally manifested quite a severe health condition, which meant I couldn't take any forward steps in what I needed to be focusing on at the time. So despite what you think is more important right now, refocus your attention and start now. So step number 1, let's have a little recap before we finish up here. Step number 1, identify what you desire, what you want. Step number 2, identify your internal blocks, beliefs, worries, issues. B, and you identify your external blocks. Step number 3, take action. A is take immediate action. Take the first illuminated step, right? The first illuminated step. B is do what it takes. So take the step and keep repeating and repeating and repeating, and don't give up. And infuse that with everything you need in order to secure you as you move forward. A little bit like an antivirus software that you install. Get the coach, become part of the mastermind. Make sure that you listen to uplifting audios or watch uplifting videos or read uplifting books, right? And last but not least, start today, right now. So have a look at your list, spend the next few minutes going through it, identify what it is you want, and then jump all the way to that first illuminated step and take it. Don't wait till January. Don't get into the Christmas period and feel what I used to feel, stress and annoyance that this blooming festivity had come upon us again, and I was nowhere near where I wanted to be in my life. Don't repeat what I used to do. Blaze a trail, my friend. Listen to your heart. Honor your journey as it wants to unfold. No more excuses. No more waiting. Do it now. Start now. Let me know how you get on. Go over to the Facebook group, UpGrade with Maria Kay, and share. Please share. It's one of my most exciting things.